in Jersey to try to appeal against their defeat in a libel case that they brought against the Jersey Evening Post. It comes as the police are still investigating who sent arson threats to 3 people connected to that case, threatening to burn down their homes if the Pitmans lost theirs, a reference to the Pitmans' recent claims to be penniless. A 4th arson threat was sent to Deputy Sean Power, who isn't connected to the defamation case, but who has clashed with the Pitmans politically. Earlier this month, the Pitmans went to court to try to win an injunction preventing the Jersey Evening Post, and by implication the BBC and other media in the island, from reporting on those arson letters. They lost, and the Pitmans were ordered to pay the costs of the court case by the judge, Sir Christopher Pitchers. So, it's been a time of turmoil for Mr. and Mrs. Pitman, mounting legal costs, court cases, injunctions, not to mention, of course, the day-to-day business of being a State's deputy. Well, Deputy Shona Pitman is with me in the studio this morning. Deputy Pitman, it's been quite a time for you and your husband, hasn't it?
It has, yes, and especially the smear campaign, which comes as no surprise, really, because the JP has run many smear campaigns against us. And
well, you have no evidence to suggest that whatsoever, do you?
Actually, I do.
It's a responsible newspaper with well-paid and trained journalists.
Matthew, if you let me finish,
well, no,
please.
because I won't let you know. Hang on a moment. I can't have you maligning or libelling people who aren't here to answer themselves.
Actually, I can. And here is one.
No, you can't.
Here is one example when myself and Jeff Southern breached an election law a few years ago. The JEP ran 3 times in their paper that we had actually committed election fraud. Very big difference. And they've done it through.
But you did break the law.
We didn't commit electoral fraud.
But you did break the law, didn't you? Yes, I accept the difference.
Very different.
All I'm saying is you did break the law in that circumstance.
Let's go on to Deputy Sean Power. Now,
no, let's not, because that's not the question I asked you. I'm asking you whether or not you face a difficult...
You have allowed Deputy Sean Power 10 minutes. You allowed him to speak. Well, now, please, you're bombarding me with questions. Let me give our side of the story, please. Now, Deputy Sean Power, he is known to be dishonest. He had to...
No, hang on a moment. I'm sorry. I'm going to stop this interview here and now, because you cannot make allegations against people who aren't here.
You have to stand down.
I'm sorry. I've shut your microphone. Deputy Pitman, I have shut your microphone at the moment, because you cannot say that, that Deputy Sean Power is dishonest. He's not here to defend himself.
He had to stand down for TV for taking printed emails written between Deputy Labby and Deputy Judy Martin. He tried to blame it on another States member, Jeff Southern. He never publicly apologised for this.
Rather than try to settle...
And that ended up on a website which is run by somebody...
Deputy, Deputy, please. Deputy, I don't know what you're saying is true or not. I cannot substantiate it at the moment. So what I'm asking you, Deputy, is to talk to me about those things that we do know about. Could you perhaps bring us up to date on the court cases that... Deputy, I'm sorry. I'm finding this very difficult to persist here. I'm going to ask you one more time, because we have to stay within the law. Could you bring us up to date, please? Can you please bring us up to date on the court cases that you're facing at the moment? Perhaps that's the best way of dealing with it.
Right, well, that is with it. I'm not saying anything that is not within the law and can't be evidence, and that is a fact, okay?
All right, well, let's take a look
about the honesty there of Deputy Sean
Well, nobody is disputing his honesty at the moment, are we? We're not saying...
Well, I am. Well, you don't have to.
What I'm saying is he is not here to defend himself, and therefore it is wrong to malign somebody who cannot defend themselves.
Right. What I'll say about the injunction is that it wasn't reported, and I thank the BBC for allowing me to say this, is that first of all the JEP and the police, the reason why we did it, and we wouldn't have done it otherwise, is that the JEP and the police wouldn't firstly allow us to see the letter. They wouldn't tell us who received the letter, and when Trevor was given a call by the JEP editor, Andy Sibsey, he was told that the paper was going to publish the story the next day, linking it to our supporters with no evidence
Again,
whatsoever.
we don't know that. We don't know that. How
Right,
do we
well, you
know?
can bring the JP on the radio, can't you, for them to justify. Now, in the court, it was a completely different story. So that's why we brought the appeal, the interim injunction. Now, there is an investigation going on. I don't think it's going to come to anything, to be honest, because...
Why don't you think the police would take such a serious allegation, properly and investigate?
Because this, I don't believe, and I'm not the only states member, there's many states members who believe that this was just about achieving a smear campaign against myself and Trevor. This came just 2 days after.
But the law has been broken. People have sent threatening letters, haven't they?
Yes, but Matthew, with respect, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I do not believe there was a threat. Now, this was in court as well.
What evidence have you got to prove that there was no threat?
Well, let me finish. That the JEP lawyer was passing it around his office. Now, how serious is that of a threat? The police have to do an investigation for fingerprints. That's how serious the JEP lawyer took it.
So are you suggesting that the legal representative of the JEP was not taking the threat seriously?
Well, what I'm saying is that it doesn't appear that he was, because
Deputy
he was
Sean
passing it around his office.
Sat in that seat 2 weeks ago and was nearly in tears, but because of the threat and fear that he faced having received such a letter.
Yes.
But don't you find that real?
I'm sorry, but we are the victims here. As I said, the JP have done this time and time again. They have smeared us, they've lied about us, etc.
I don't think that is actually helpful to anybody's conversation this morning.
The most recent campaign that they've had about our planning application...
Look, the JP is not staging a campaign against anybody. The JP isn't here. I cannot allow you to keep on maligning the Jersey Evening Post without them defending themselves, because we have a responsibility to giving them the legal opportunity to comment.
The public to give them the truth, and they have not done that.
It's an interpretation of the truth.
And so does Deputy Sean Power.
Well, nobody is suggesting, other than yourself, that either organisation is telling anybody other than the truth. Do you have any regrets about bringing your original case against the JEP?
No, because the original case was really, as I've said to you, the way that we've been treated by the JP, and we're not the only ones. It tends to be left-wing politicians who are very vociferous about issues and other distant voices. So this time we thought we are going to stand up to them. They've got no right saying to people that we have stood for election about money. As I said, they ran this campaign about me and Deputy Sullivan before, about, we'd committed electoral fraud.
Let's move on from that.
Very different to just helping people fill in applications for postal votes.
Deputy, what I was hoping to find out from you this morning is how you feel, because actually that is of interest to everybody, because nobody can really be going through what you and your husband are going through and not have some concern for your well-being. I mean, do you have any regrets about bringing this original case? Because one cartoon in the paper, published once at Christmas time, is but a fleeting experience. Since you brought this case, we're talking about it, there have been all these other allegations and the other issues, and suddenly the cartoon is getting printed again and again and again. What is today's news is tomorrow's chip paper, after all, isn't it?
Well, it isn't for you. It's very easy for you, Matthew, to say that. You're not a left-wing politician who's been vociferous about a lot of things. You haven't stood up to the judiciary. You're not a lone politician standing up to all of the media of Jersey. It's very different for you, and let's just give people a little bit of background, if you don't mind, because it hasn't been covered. We've sent out press releases, and it hasn't been covered, and I don't know why. All these other little things have been given lots of coverage.
Well, actually, it has been covered quite extensively.
Well, it hasn't. Not on the points as to why we're appealing.
Well, a lot of the points that you make are very difficult to broadcast within the laws of libel, and you yourself must understand this, because clearly you have brought a libel case to the JEP.
Sorry, but firstly, the first thing is that the juror that sat on our case, okay? Now, he is a friend of the defender.
Look, we can't go into details, because anyway, look, I'm sorry, Deputy, I think at this stage we're going to have to draw this interview to a close. Deputy Pittman, thank you very much indeed for joining me this morning. That's Deputy Shona Pittman there, who is joining me here in the studio this morning. And I'm afraid I cannot allow her to make unsubstantiated allegations that we cannot justify or sustain here on the BBC.
Breakfast on BBC Radio Jersey.